Good evening, poets, translators, and poetry lovers. A warm welcome to Kritya Poetry East and West, a poetry gathering that brings together voices from different geographies, languages, and poetic traditions. Poetry has always traveled farther than spatial, linguistic, or temporal borders. It crosses languages before translators do. It reaches hearts before passports do. And it reminds us that while our histories may differ, our deepest human experiences often resonate with one another. This evening, we are privileged to listen to four remarkable poets from Azerbaijan, Mexico, and India. Each comes from a distinct literary tradition, each writes in a different voice, yet all of them affirm poetry's enduring ability to question, console, disturb, and illuminate. This series has become possible because of the sustained vision and commitment of poet, translator, and founder of Kritya International Poetry Movement, Rati Saxena, whose work over the years has created meaningful conversations among poets across continents. It's my privilege to invite Rati Saxena to give her welcome remarks.
Namaskar.
Rati, please.
Namaskar. Thank you, Kamlakar. I think three of them. Sonnet knows little bit about Kritya, but for you, the Kritya is very new thing. The Kritya has started in 2005. And it was started as a journal, and our aim was the different languages, poetry only in different languages, from Eastern countries to Western countries. We were translating poetry in Hindi from Western countries, and we were translating Indian or Eastern countries poetry into English. So it was bilingual journal. And 2005 itself, we have started Poetry Festival also, but 2007, it was International Poetry Festival. In first festival itself, we had a 15, 16 international guests. It was in the memory of Ayappa Panikar, a great poet from the Kerala. And then it was the movable. It was a nomadic festival. We were going to different places in different languages, because I think you people know or not, we have many languages. And so we used to go to different languages, different places. And so that we were going to our audience, audience are not coming to us. Mostly it happens that we have a very less audience for the poetry. So we were going to, and then later on we have converted it is a poetry therapeutic festival, where we were going to prison, old age home, then hospitals, cancer wards, and different places with our poetry as a therapy. So this was this is how, and for 3-4 years we could not run it into Kritya. In a Corona time also, we had a very good festival online itself, 10 days, 15 days. But after that, we had to stop almost. Now Kamlakar ji has taken charge, and he is organized almost. I'm just supporting him. He is organizing Kritya festival, Kritya reading. One is Kritya poetry, East and West, and then second is book talk. So it is very nice. It's going very well. We are knowing about young poets, mostly contemporary poets around the world. We are communicating, and we are making a poetic group or society. So that's all. You all welcome, and I hope you will be connected with Kritya for future also. Thank you very much. Voice. Kamlakar ji, voice. Kamlakar ji, your voice.
Yeah. Sorry. like you were saying earlier, Ratiji, this technology sometimes gets us into trouble. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing the history in brief of Kritya, and also reminding us that poetry is not merely a literary practice, but it's also a way of building conversations across cultures and of preserving our shared humanity through all these activities. Thank you so much. And let us now turn to our readings, and we'll begin with Dulce Chiang, um, a poet, performer, singer, and cultural curator. Dulce Chiang has consistently expanded poetry beyond the printed page into performance and collaborative artistic purposes. She comes from Mexico, and as an editor and festival director, she has also created spaces where diverse poetic voices can meet across cultures. You are welcome, Dulce, to Kritya Poetry East and West, and we are looking forward to listening to your poems. Over to you.
Great. Thank you, Kamala. Kamala Kar and Rati and all my fellow poets in this reading. Thank you for including me. I'm really happy to be able to exchange Western Coast poetry from west to coast and from east to west. So thanks. I'm gonna read. I was allowed to read 3 poems in different languages. So, and since technology is been named, maybe I should start with a brutal technological genesis, which is a poem I'm going to read in English and then in Spanish. Brutal technological genesis. Thy will be fulfilled, hey science. Oh, spider web like God, omnipresent, oracle of technology. Thy will be fulfilled, as on earth as under heaven, that there be no element capable of moving you. Take care of your nursing children, embalmed in optical platinum threads, containing them in a colossal womb that is the complete earth and the only tangible ground and the entire universe. Before you, only science, and if you want, nothing afterwards. Virtually, everything is possibility. This is a key algorithm. Electronic nebula, your taxonomy applies. It's the evolution, and it was already written somewhere. Hey, spider, queen, in network, reincarnated. Who expected to see you succeed again? You made the moon, your decoy, a lie. But she was a huge button that displayed a power in its center. But God was only a robot poet who sang to her. I'm going to read it in Spanish. If I can find it. Oh, sorry. Like I opened lots of. I'm just gonna look for it in internet. It's in internet in Spanish. You know, I'm gonna read another poem because I cannot find my. I'm gonna read the Enamored Demonses.
You can go for another poem, no problem. You can go for another poem.
Yeah. I had it open, but I'm not finding it anymore.
No problem. We have Hindi translation of this poem, so you can go for another.
Okay, maybe you read the Hindi and then I go for Spanish.
बाद में पढ़ लेना, एक साथ सब पढ़ लेंगे फिर पढ़ना. You can read another poem.
Oh no,
Hello?
I found it in Spanish, so I'm gonna find it in Spanish. I'm gonna read it in Spanish, okay?
Okay.
Génesis brutal tecnológico. Hágase tu voluntad, oh ciencia, oh arácnida red, como Dios omnipresente. Oráculo de la tecnología, hágase tu voluntad sobre tierra y bajo cielo, que no haya elemento capaz de conmoverte. Cuida de tus lactantes hijos, embalsamados en ópticos, platinados hilos, conténlos en colosal vientre que sea la tierra completa y el suelo tangible y único y el entero universo. Antes de ti solo el silencio y si quieres después nada. Virtualmente, todo es posibilidad. Este es el algoritmo llave. Nebulosa electrónica, aplica tu taxonomía, es la evolución, en algún lado ya fue escrito. Reina araña reencarnada en red, ¿quién esperaba verte triunfar de nuevo? Hiciste de la luna tu aliado señuelo, pero era ella un enorme botón que ostentaba un power en su centro. Pero era Dios, solo un poeta robot que le cantaba. Should I read another one, or you want to read the Hindi version?
You go for another one, actually.
Okay, then I'll read the enamored demonses. The demonses are in love and beloved. They throw snortful howls among the jaws of hell. By internal embers calcinant, the demonses kiss each other in silence. They caress their weathered nipples. Themselves they palpitate, erect, needed, and invincible. Never has heaven seen that much love. They grow vibrant, twisted, loving, and vile succubi. They pull apart their orangues' glutes, and their sharp-fanged lips fit into the living flesh in a frightful, unbridled oscule. Surfeit boils, moist with love, the severed entrail of the abyss. Cancer barrel moans in billowing. The very villain sex explodes. They love joyful, loving, bloodthirsty, eating away demonses in dark ocular shines and genital squirks. They hurtle their filthy tongues, crying erect, sucked and loving. Enraptured faces of monstrous grimaces, they are mutilated angels, those demonses, who entangle their souls in an endless sin. One would say that this was paradise collapsed in flames, but never has heaven witnessed so much love. I'm going to read that in Spanish too. I already have it here prepared. Las demonias enamoradas. Las demonias están enamoradas y amorosas, lanzan bufos aullidos en las fauces del infierno. Calcinadas por brazos interiores, se besan en silencio las demonias, los ajados pezones se acarician, se palpitan directas, amasadas e invencibles. Nunca tanto amor ha visto el cielo. Grúñense vibrantes, retorcidas, amorosas, civiles las demonias, apártanse los glúteos horrendos y labios de filosos colmillos encájanse en la carne viva, en espantoso ósculo desenfrenado. Hierve sulfurosa, húmeda de amor la entraña desgajada del abismo, gime en brama, cancerbero, le extraña el sexo al muy villano. Ríense gozosas, amantes, sanguinarias, carcomidas las demonias, en oscuros brillos oculares y graznidos genitales se aprontan a las lenguas inmundas y lloran erectas, succionadas y amorosas. Extasiados rostros de monstruosa mueca son ángeles mutilados, las demonias enredan sus almas en un pecado interminable. Diríase que este era el paraíso derrumbado en llamas, mas nunca tanto amor ha visto el cielo. I'm going to read a short third poem. This is based on a cocktail, actually, that you may have sipped at some point, which is called Cosmopolitan, and I have named Cosmos. Ice cubes, 45 milliliters of vodka, 30 milliliters of triple sec, 30 milliliters of cranberry juice, 30 milliliters of lime juice, 1 slice of lime decoration. Inside a shaker, beat the darkness with luminous ice cubes and see that this is good. Also, pour into this jar the juicy waters of vodka and the arid waters of triple sec and see that this is good. Add the juice of the cranberry and the sweet gold of the lemon tree fruits and see that this is good. Pour the mixture into a martini glass and garnish with a slice of lime, vast as a lantern, and see that this is good. Rest, drink your cocktail. Think that maybe it is not good for you to enjoy it alone. Thank you.
Yes, Brajesh ji.
धन्यवाद कमलाकर जी। मैं
Please read.
पहला अनुवाद पढ़ता हूँ, ब्रूटल टेक्नोलॉजिकल जेनेसिस। इसका हिंदी अनुवाद है निष्ठुर तकनीकी उत्पत्ति। तेरी इच्छा पूरी हो है विज्ञान, अरे मकर जाल जैसे देव, सर्वव्याप तकनीक के भविष्यवक्ता। तेरी इच्छा स्वर्ग की तरह धरती पर पूरी हो, कोई भी तत्व तुझे हिला ना सके। अपने उन बच्चों का ध्यान रख जो ऑप्टिकल प्लेटिनम धागों से लिपटे हुए हैं। उन्हें एक विशाल गर्भ में रख जो कि पूरी पृथ्वी है, और यही एक हकीकी मैदान है। संपूर्ण ब्रह्मांड है, तुम्हारे सामने बस सन्नाटा है और तुम चाहते हो कि उसके बाद भी कुछ नहीं हो। असल में हर चीज मुमकिन है, यही मुख्य एल्गोरिथम है। इलेक्ट्रॉनिक नेबुला, तुम्हारा वर्गीकरण विज्ञान लागू होता है, यही विकास क्रम है और यह पहले भी कहीं लिखा जा चुका है। नेटवर्क में फिर से जन्मी, अरे मकड़ी रानी, तुम्हारे फिर से सफल होने की उम्मीद किसे थी? तुमने चांद को अपना नकली साथी बनाया, मगर वह तो एक बहुत बड़ी बटन थी जिसके बीच में शक्ति लिखा हुआ था। पर ईश्वर, वो तो बस एक रोबोटिक कवि था जो उसके लिए गाता था। दूसरी कविता है द सेंट ऑफ स्टार्स। हिंदी का शीर्षक है जख्मों की गंध। कोविड-19 की डायरी। मैं जिस मकान में घुसती हूँ उसके बरामदे में मौत की गंध महसूस होती है। मैं जहाँ रहती हूँ वहाँ तबाही की गंध आती है। चमकता फास्फोरस, नृत्य करते मुर्दे, टेढ़ा मेढ़ा मुंह बनाते सांड मेरा स्वागत करते। मैं जिस घर में रहती हूँ, जहाँ कभी कभी खाती हूँ, जिस मेज पर संपादन करती हूँ, मैं कहूँगी उनमें से मरे हुए सी गंध आती। बहुतेरी कब्रें और ठंडी लाशें दुर्गंधित जगह में थकी हारी दम तोड़ती हैं। जख्मों की इस महक में कोई कैसे न फंसे, उनमें अपने आप को कैसे न पहचाने। आपदा प्रगति को गाद है। अरे मैंने तुम्हें पहले ही बता दिया है, मुझे लगता है यहाँ मरे हुए जैसी गंध आ रही। धारकोर और बीम वाले घर की यह अजीब सी लालसा जिसमें मैं रहती हूँ, जिस बिस्तर पर कभी कभार सोती हूँ, जहाँ संपादन करती हूँ, अब महसूसती हूँ मौत सी बदबू मारता है। गुप्त तहखाने और मृत अवशेष समतल बंजर जमीन में कीड़े भरे वस्त्र उतार रहे हैं। तभी बीज नजर आते हैं, हवा में उलझे हुए, लटके हुए। आंखों के प्यासे खांचों में रूह बरसती है, आंखों के प्यासे खांचों में रूह बरसती है। तीसरी कविता है कॉस्मोपॉलिटन कॉस्मोस। बर्फ के टुकड़े, 45 मिलीलीटर वोडका, 30 मिलीलीटर ट्रिपल सेक, 30 मिलीलीटर कैनबरी जूस, 30 मिलीलीटर नींबू रस, नींबू की एक स्लाइस सजाने के लिए। एक मिश्रक जार के भीतर अंधियारे की चमकीले बर्फ के टुकड़ों से भगाएं। एक मिश्रक जार के भीतर अंधियारे को चमकीले बर्फ के टुकड़ों से भगाएं और देखें कि यह अच्छा है। साथ ही इस जार में वोदका का सरस जल और निर्जल ट्रिपल सेक डालें और देखें अच्छा है। कैनबरी जूस और नींबू का मधुर स्वर्ण रस मिलाएं, देखें कि अच्छा है। अब इस मिश्रण को मार्टिनी ग्लास में डालें, नींबू की बड़ी स्लाइस से पैटर्न की भांति सजाएं और देखें क्या यह अच्छा है। फिर आराम करें, अपना कॉकटेल पिए, फिर विचारें और इसका अकेले अकेले आनंद लें। क्या तुम्हारे लिए अच्छा है? धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Brajesh ji, for these three translations. And thank you, Dulce. Your poems inhabit a space where myth, body, and technology continually transform one another. They remind us that imagination is perhaps poetry's most radical form of knowing. Thank you. Thank you for your lovely poems. We enjoyed them.
1 minute, I want her to read one poem, or she said that about that nude. I want to read you that poem.
Okay, so I read it?
Yeah, please in English.
Okay, I'll read Third Moon Cycle. It was the last one, right? In the Third Moon Cycle. The youth dreams. A fish sleeps spinning in the rings of Saturn. She gravitates close to the ceiling. The silver thread that protects her from the internal emptiness oscillates. A great incandescent wave by torrents bathes her intact breasts, and her extremities orbit toward the radiant. The nude can't be touched. The viscous drowsiness of the darkened room reads only onanism aloud. The fingers of she who levitating sleeps exude a strange of 3 moon cycles. They have called her Virgin of the Cosmos, she who floats next to the ceiling, reigns holy adouses the illuminated nude, miraculous, fluorescent, powerful, and flying. Thank you, Radi. Thank you, Kalama Kar. And thank you, my translator, Brajesh.
Yes.
And all my fellow companions of this table. Thanks a lot for including me. I feel really linked to India. I had the opportunity to travel there to Mumbai in 2024. And I am, then some Indian poets came to Mexico. So we are working on this dual and mutual poetic relationship. Thank you for making it happen. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dulce. We enjoyed your poetry. Thank you so much. Now we turn to our next poet from Kolkata, Sonnet Mondal. Sonnet is an internationally recognized Indian poet, editor, and literary organizer. His work has traveled into more than 20 languages. His poetry is marked by philosophical inquiry, emotional precision, and an unflinching engagement with the ethical questions of our time. We now request Sonnet to present his poems.
Hello, Kamlakar, and thank you for having me here. Thank you, Rati, for having me here. So, I have chosen like 5 short poems, and one at the end I will be reading in Bengali, which is my mother tongue, but I write in English. So the title of the first poem goes as Outline of Pain. When I'm asked why I live alone, I almost say something inside me has lost its shape midway. My memories have no edges and pain no direction. Even my thoughts rehearse their own disappearance. What I feel has no surface to stand on. Something formless hides behind the ordinary. In my solitude, I keep chiseling silence to see if it will speak back in form. Perhaps I haven't yet earned the grace to name what wounds me so beautifully. Some nights, when the unsaid grows almost whole, I am still arriving. The second poem is titled as How Do You Still Call It Faith? Hands that fold in prayer also tighten around the barrel. Mouths that chant blessings spill orders of fire. Eyes that water at suffering turn blind to the blood on your own doorstep. How do you still call it faith when the God you kneel to is the same one you betray? Do you feel the tremor in the heart that gives and takes? Do you hear the silent cries of those who are broken by hands like yours, by words like yours, by faith like yours? I do not understand how devotion and destruction can live in the same body, how mercy and violence can dine at the same table. And yet you rise each morning, fold your hands, light your incense, as if the smoke could cleanse the echoes of your own making, as if faith were a garment you could wear without feeling the stain it leaves behind. Tell me, how do you still call it faith? And another poem, Last Argument of Breath. You may not speak it, but you know in this world, almost no one chooses their own ending. Most deaths arrive clawing at breath, splintering the air with pleas, fingers grazing light, or the half open hand of a stranger before silence unfurls like a cold sheet over them. And still people die. People kill. People portion out pain like grain from a state warehouse, feeding the hunger for survival with someone else's wound. Meanwhile, you can line up in the corridors of faith, waiting for your ballot as though it were a resurrection ticket, dreaming of borders folding like damp maps in the hands of rain. You do not hear, nor do you wish to, but somewhere, without pause, somewhere, someone still, before dying, is saying no one last time. The next poem is titled as Today, a missile struck the head of Buddha. Gods, their names echo in spaces where tanks traverse playgrounds. The world moves, and the hands of clocks move farther apart. Palms folded over our hearts, we sit inside roofless houses. We still think about preserving our faith. What when a missile topples the dome of a mosque? When it rips apart the clapper of a temple bell from its mouth? Today, a missile is stuck in the head of Buddha. Where will the birds sit now? Today, the rice bowls are filled with bullet shells. How would you teach hunger to value our gods? Each footprint is a hope. When a child walks barefoot, each footprint is a map of a land. When children fall in front of bullets and their bodies are dragged on, each dragging trail is a hope. Their eyes show us the black back of every mirror, the cold grasp of ruins. Their laughter rings like vacuum traveling through the bullet holes in the walls of their houses. Their footprints leave a vast, desolate ache in their wake as water forms inside growing coconuts by their houses. The houses, roofless, look at the sky the way a quiet shore looks at the sea, seeking a way to rest. My last poem in English is titled as Below the Sky of Sirens. The last several evenings, walking home from the city market, I heard conversations. I tried to interpret the shades of human ties and write about love and longing. But just as a burnt baby has no past, a shot down mother has no joy, a bombed hospital, no care, an air siren, no future, war has no nostalgia. It all started in a coffee shop where patrons took sides. The coffee smelled clean, the floating bubbles kept bursting, though. And at the beginning of the session, as I told, my mother tongue is Bengali. So, but I write in English, but of course, I read in Bengali, and few of my poems, they're available in Bengali also. They have been translated by Anshuman Kaur. And the title of this poem, I'm going to read in Bengali, অদ্ভুত সাক্ষাৎগুলি। মাঝে মাঝে আমরা কোনো একজনের ভেতরে ঢুকে পড়ি জীবনে মাত্র একবারই, আর আমাদের হাড়গুলো কিছুতেই ওই চামড়ার ভেতরে ফিট করে না, মাপে মাপ খায় না। আমাদের নানা পরিকল্পনা সমুদ্রের ঢেউয়ের মতো এগোয় আর সন্দেহের মতো পিছিয়ে আসে। এদিকে একদিকে আশঙ্কার তীব্র যন্ত্রণার কামড়, অন্যদিকে একটা ক্ষণস্থায়ী আনন্দ, অভিজ্ঞতা আর ভয়ের মাঝের প্রসারণকে মনে হয় যেন সেই সময় যা একটা মাছ নেয় নিজেকে মেলে ধরতে আর লুকোতে একটা বড়শির সামনে। থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। থ্যাংক ইউ কমলাকার, থ্যাংক ইউ রতি।
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonnet. Wonderful poems. They do not seek easy consolation. They remain attentive to the fragile space where language confronts violence, faith, loneliness, and hope without surrendering to certainty. Thank you so much for your wonderful poems. We now turn to Jyoti Prakash, a poet who comes from New Delhi. And uh, 1 minute, please. Uh, Yeah, with a background in political science and social development, Jyoti Prakash brings to poetry a thoughtful awareness of contemporary life while remaining deeply attentive to intimate human experience. Her works explores uh, memory, belonging, migration, and relationships through fresh and unexpected imagery. Jyoti Prakash, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rati ma'am and Kamlakar sir, for having me. Thank you so much, fellow poets, for presenting their poetry so well and so it's in a very refreshing manner. I am very new to all of this. I am just few years old as a poet, and here I am going to present some of my Hindi poems and two of my English poems. So the first poetry, which is in Hindi, जिसका शीर्षक है, जिसका टाइटल है प्रवासी। जिसे तुम त्रिकोणों में ढूंढ रहे हो वो हिसाब से नहीं मिलता। मिलती है जुगलबंदी कमरों में पड़े रहने की, कई रास्तों पर चलने की। मिलता है टोपरा खेतों का जब तुम्हारे पांव नींद की सिलवटें सुलझा रहे होते। वो चंद लिहाफों वाले ख्वाबों में जिन्हें तुम सपना नहीं कह सकते, अब नहीं, कभी भी। बोलने का कायदा, भाषाओं की लड़ियां तुम्हारे जूड़े से गिरकर पूरे विश्व में पसर गई। विहारों के ऊपर तुम्हारी नाव पानी में आसमानी जहाज बन गई। तुम घूमे, पृथ्वी मुड़ती रही। सारा समागम मोहित रहा कि तुम ऐसे कैसे बह जाते हो। लौकिक पारलौकिक से परे पत्तों के ऊपर पीठ रख उड़ जाते हो। बौद्धों के संग ध्यान में खो जाते हो क्या तुम? ये सवाल तुम मिलन में पूछते हो या विरह में? चींटियां चलती है तुम्हारे होठों पर, रेंगते रेंगते जाने कितनी बार कई देश घूमकर तुम्हारी जड़ों में विलुप्त हो जाती हैं। मुझे लगता है जैसे तुम अपने नथनों में सादा पानी सूंघ सकते हो। मानविक परिसर में खुद की खिड़की अच्छी लगती होगी ना? क्या तुम भी ये ढूंढते हो, खुद को टटोलते हो? क्या वैश्विक होकर भी तुम घर को लौटना चाहते हो? मेरी जो सेकंड पोएम है उसका टाइटल है झील में कई चांद उतरते हैं। मेरे मन की झील में कई चांद उतरते हैं। कितने आसमानों में खिले हुए होंगे ये उजाले। एक आसमान मेरा, एक उसका, और एक ही चांद पर दोनों के हिस्से। मैंने अपने आंगन में उदासी छाट कर रख दी है। उसकी पसलियों तक चांदनी छनकर पहुंचती नहीं। वो कोने से सरककर किसी जलाशय में जा छिपती है। वो कहीं किनारों पर किसी बाज की पीठ थपथपाता है कि उसे उड़ा ले चले अपने हिस्से का चांद छूने। मैंने भी बाज की केहुनी में आधा धागा बांध दिया है, तीतरों के संग घासों का झुरमुट लाने को। ऐसे ही प्रकरणों से मैंने अपने आंगन के सारे कोने पर सेंध लगा दी कि अगर आंधियां मेरी खुशबू उड़ाना चाहे तो भी उड़ ना पाए। सूखे पत्तों और टूटी टहनियों से मैंने अपने माथे पर एक घोंसला बनाया है। अब सारे तीतर और बाज उसी में उसकी बातें चूमते हैं। मैंने अपने चांद को उसके चांद के पीछे जाने दिया है कि उसका चांद जब पूरा हो, कोहरा मेरे आसमां का भी तो छट जाएगा। जो मेरी तीसरी कविता है वो हिंदी में है, जिसका मैं इंग्लिश में भी ट्रांसलेशन प्रोवाइड करूँगी। इसका शीर्षक है बावन बूटा। मैं इसको पढ़ने से पहले थोड़ा सा इसके बारे में एक डिस्क्रिप्शन दे देती हूँ। तो बावन बूटा एक हैंडीक्राफ्ट आर्ट है जो बिहार के गया एंड नालंदा डिस्ट्रिक्ट में बहुत फेमस था। ये पिछले कुछ 40-50 वर्षों में विलुप्त हो गया था, जिसको रिसेंटली रीडिस्कवर किया जा रहा है। तो ये पोइट्री जो है एक ओड है उस मेमोरी की, जो बहुत सारी न्यूली वेड वुमेन अपने ससुराल से, अपने मायके से अपने ससुराल लेकर आती थी। So I have placed my...
Please give this introduction in English also, so she will
Yes.
understand.
Yes. So this is an ode to an art which is known as Bavan Bhuta. It's an handicraft art and it's famous in Bihar. And there is a district called Gaya and Nalanda. So where newly-wed women used to bring it to their mother-in-law place or their in-laws place, and it was sort of a memory. It was sort of a representation of their hometown. So I have placed myself as that woman in that era, and I have tried to seek the questions through this poetry. So बावन बूटा। खेत स्वयं ही किसी गाड़ी की पीठ पर बैठे बैठे काठ की टोकरी से तेजी से जा भिड़ा। वो ताला जो किसी जिन सा दिखता था, उसे छूकर थोड़ा सा वक्त चुरा लाया। मेरी साड़ी की सिलवटों में खेद रिश्ता रहा बावन बूटा, जिसे मैंने एक बार नहीं कई बार गिना, फिर भी कभी पूरा नहीं गिन पाई। मेरे शहर के किस्सों की दस्तकारी थी इस पे। वो पेड़ नहीं चलकर आए उन नवजात पत्तों को लेने, शायद, जिन्हें उन्होंने अपने गर्भाशय में अनगढ़ंत तरीकों से पाला था। ना जाने क्यों भर आती है मेरी ये नीरस आंखें जब भी कोख और शब्द एक गले से चीखते हैं। मेरे मन को कचोटते वो नर्म धागे मेरी त्वचा से नर्म पेश आते हैं। काठ की वो करछी मेरे पैरों को गुदगुदाती है, धूल को थपथपाती और मेरी साड़ी सवार देती है। मेरा कद छोटा होता चला जाता है जब मैंने अपने कमर में सरसराते कल की कहानी की गांठें बांधी होती है। आसमां छूते उसके कद से उलझती रही थरथराती कई ठोकरों के बीच। मेरी उंगलियां बेजान थी और भूल गई फिर से एक बार गिनती कि 52 बूटे थे। खिलते कमल के टूस थे, पर मैं उसके गंध को अपना न सकी। एक बेढंग काया बुनती रही एक सिरे से बेढंग कहानी। 52 बूटे की वो साड़ी सालों तक सांस लेती रही, तह करती रही खुद को, जीते चली गई और मैं जीर्ण हो गई। एक बार फिर लकड़ी चरमराई और वो साड़ी फिर कभी नहीं पहनी गई। सो इसी का इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेशन है। 52 बूटा, 52 motifs. Bhuta is motifs. Guilt rode a vehicle, crashed briskly into a wooden basket, rubbed a ginny-looking lock, and stole time from an older time's pocket. The pleats in my sari pleaded guilty. 52 bhuta, 52 motifs. I counted once, then thrice. I missed them again somehow. The story of my own town was imprinted. The trees did not come for the leaves they carried in their clumsy wombs. Why do I get sentimental when womb and words scream together? The threads were soft against my skin, yet edgy against my heart. The wooden spatula rubbed my feet, patted the dust, and adjusted the pleats. I was a dwarf who tied a memento of a sleekish past around her waist. I struggled with its sky-scraping height, trembled and trampled over. My fingers could not stay steady and lost the count of motifs once again. The trees bereft me of any story. The leaf fell from my juda. Juda is bun. I couldn't smell the loomy lotus. I was a misset, trying to weave a tall story of my own. The sari stayed for more than half a century. It folded itself and I was tall. The wood creaked and it was never born again. So I am heading to my last poem. It's in English, Reborn in a Brothel. So its title is Reborn in a Brothel. Cradle the sheepish, lustful mirages. When I dragged the heart through the muddy race, the weaver tried to make me slimmer. My body shaded the mountains between my nails. It didn't bleed. It cannot. The harmless, lifeless, lingering gaze. I was reborn in a brothel. No bodily exchange, yet everything was sold. My long hair was looted by Jasmine, the chore, the thief. Not stunned, but stabbed. My toes were tossed. The sky brewed my name, and everyone sipped their coffee. My friends, they were giggling, dropping my casket before the graveyard closed. Chopped hair, cropped toes, wrinkled head, broken nails. I was folded like a brisket. Under the roll, overrolled. My eyelids were heavier, people did show. The final chapter slipped through the tunnel, escaped the road. Alas, I was breathing, lest the braids were no more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jyoti. Very nice. Your poems invite us to attend to absence, to tenderness, and to the quiet transformations within ourselves. Thank you very much for presenting your poetry to us. Now we turn to a poet from Azerbaijan, Bahtiyar Hidayet. Bahtiyar has authored 4 poetry collections and developed his own poetic structure called Cross Techniques. His work combines lyrical intensity with social conscience, moving naturally between personal grief, political reality, and philosophical reflections. So over to Bahtiyar. Bahtiyar will read his poems in Turkish, and then Brajesh ji will read translations in Hindi, and I'll read at least one poem in English. Over to you, Bahtiyar.
Mic. Unmute the mic, please. Voice is not there. Unmute mic. Bahtiyar, please unmute your mic. No. Bahtiyar, unmute the mic. Yeah.
I can't see him also.
No, you can see him, but he does not know what to do. By that, you can read in Hindi his translation. I will send him message on WhatsApp.
Bahtiyar, put on your mic. Yes, we can see you. Switch on your mic. Mic, please. Mic.
Please check.
Mic.
Please check the WhatsApp. Please check the WhatsApp.
Read, please.
No, he does not understand. Mike, please read the WhatsApp, please. Check the WhatsApp. WhatsApp. Mobile. Check what I have written. Mike, please. I can't handle from here, otherwise I would do. Mike, I think he is not understanding. Technology is again problem. ब्रजेश जी आप अब हिंदी में पढ़िए.
थैंक यू मैम। अब ये अनएप्टे हो रही है। फर्स्ट पोएम इज इन मेमोरी ऑफ माय ब्रदर। मेरे भाई की याद में आपके आखिरी पल मेरी आंखों के सामने से गुजरे। आप गहरी सांसें ले रहे थे, इतनी गहरी कि ऐसा लग रहा था आप उन सालों की भी सांसें ले रहे थे जो आप कभी जी ही नहीं पाए। आपकी नजरें एक ही जगह टिकी हुई थी, आप पलकें भी नहीं झपका पा रहे थे। गोया उन सालों की दुनिया देखना चाहते थे जो आप कभी जी ही नहीं पाएंगे। बिस्तर से उठने की भी आप में ताकत नहीं थी। गोया आप उन सालों की नींद एक साथ ले रहे थे जो आप कभी दोबारा ले नहीं पाएंगे। भाई, मैंने खुद आपको नहलाया, आपको नहलाते हुए मैंने खुद को भी साफ किया। अब से मैं भी आपके जैसा पाक जीवन जीऊंगा। आपकी कब्र के पत्थर के लिए आपकी शादी की तस्वीर सबसे मुनासिब रही। आपकी शादी की तस्वीर कब्र के पत्थर से उन सभी शादियों को देख रही है जिनमें आप कभी दोबारा शामिल नहीं हो पाएंगे। जबकि ऐसे बहुत से लोग हैं जिन्हें गुजर जाना चाहिए। बताइए, आप किसकी जगह चले गए मेरे भाई? हमें याद करके तड़पना मत मेरे भाई। हमारी दादी वही है आपके बगल में, हमारे अब्बू आपके बगल में ही है, हमारी अम्मी भी आपके पास आने की तैयारी कर रही है। जमीन के नीचे की दुनिया बहुत खूबसूरत है। ना बिजली का बिल, ना गैस का बिल, ना कोई कर्ज। आज तक आपने जो पेंशन की जमा पूंजी जोड़ी है वो आपके बच्चों की है। वो आपके बच्चों को जिंदा रखेगी। हम भी आपके बच्चों की मदद करेंगे, हम भी आपकी जगह थोड़ा जी लेंगे। और आज तक आपने जो इंसानियत की पूंजी कमाई है वह आपकी याद को जिंदा रखेगी, और ये कविता भी आपकी याद को जिंदा रखेगी। यह कविता भी आपकी याद को जिंदा रखेगी।
Now he can read, I think. Bahtiyar, please read your poem. Read in Turkish, yes.
Türkçe konuşuyorum.
Loudly.
Aha.
Yeah,
Türkçe şiir. Birinci şiir.
no voice.
Bizim şehirde ilanlar ağaçlara vurulurdu. Ev satılır, arsa satılır, fiyatlı anlaşmayla. Garip olan şu ki sonra o ağaçların kendisi de satılır. Ama sabit bir fiyata. Bu ağaçların yerinde şimdi bankalar var. Banka çalışanları kredi ilanlarını yapıştırmış, sark kalmış ağaçlara. Halka para satıyorlar. Ama çok insaflılar. Bahçelikle ilgili krediler geciktiğinde %1 indirim yapıyorlar. Borçlanmış dostum kredi ilanlarını okuyor. Ben ise ilan yapıştıran ağacın kaderini okuyorum. Ama bir ilan beni sarstı. Bu ilanda böbrek satılıyordu. Bu ilan ağacı da sarsmıştı. Sanki diyaliz hastasıydı ağaç. Başka bir şiir okuyorum. Demek. Aha. Kaybolmuş yılan. Büyük bir hastane, sabah vakti, iş yeni başlamış. Ağır hastalar doktor odalarının önünde sırada bekliyor. İnlemeden kulaklar sağır oluyor. Odada tek bir doktor bile yok. Hepsi toplantıda, yeni müdür kendini kanıtlıyor. Nihayet toplantı bitti. Doktorların beyaz önlükleri sanki beyaz kefen gibiydi. Sanki ölüler dirilmiş de mezarlıktan geri dönmüşlerdi. Ve şimdi onlar bu hastaneden, yeni ilaç bulunmayan bu hastaneden məzarlığa yeni ölülər göndərəcəklərdi. Bu arada kazancılı çıxanlar, mollalar, məzar kazıcıları və ölü yıkıcılar oldu. Amma onlar çox insafsız yaratıqlar. Heç biri yeni müdürə təşəkkür etmədi. Bu əski bir gələnəkdir. Hər yeni müdür bu gələnəyə biraz yenilik katar. Bu arada müdürlər, çox gənc müdürlər, amma hastalıq və ölüm də gəncləşmişdir. Gənclərə verilə biləcək ən gözəl baxım budur. Çox yaşamaq, çox acı çəkmək deməkdir. Bu arada bəyaz önlüklü kasapları hatırladım. Bəyaz önlükləri doktorlara baxınca, kasapların bir inəyə baxıb nə qədər kazanc sağlayacağını hesaplaması kimi doktorlar da hastalara baxıb kazanclarını hesaplaya biliyorlar. İnsanlar 20 yıl okuyup kasap olmuşlar. Eğitim sektoru işte böyle gelişmiş. Ama beyaz önlüklü təmizlikçilərə bakınca göğsümdə ümid kıvılcımları doğdu. Bəlkə bu təmizlikçilər bu sistemi süpürüb ata bilərlər deyə. Və hastanenin girişindəki eski afişdə tıbbın simgəsi olan yılan çox soluq, neredeyse görünmüyor. Bəlkə də kasaplardan korkup kaçmıştır. İnsanların kendi kasaplarından yardım bekləməsi, bunu heyvanlar belə yapmaz. Hatta ayaksız heyvanlar belə kendi kasaplarından kaça biliyorlar. Allah təmizlikçilərə güc versin. Maaş kölə kimi yaşamaq içindir. Allah burada çarəsizdir. Allahın kulları aynı zamanda memurların da kullarıdır. Memurların her biri bir Allah gibidir. Allah kendi kullarını onlardan kurtaramıyor. Böylece kaybolmuş yılan, kaybolmuş vicdanın ve insafın simgesidir. Beyaz önlüklü, beyaz kefenin simgesidir. Ülkeyi bir rentgen cihazından getirsek, söylediklerim doğrulanardı. Acaba rentgen cihazı kaybolmuş yılanı tapabilir mi? Acaba rentgen cihazı kaybolmuş yılanı tapabilir mi? Bəs yine söylüyor mu? Üçüncü söylüyorum. Postmodern fotokopi. Villasının divarında 99 burç var. Üzerine Allah'ın 99 azı yazılmış. Eski olan 100. burçta ise kendi adı da yazılmalı. Çünkü o da çağın bir ilahıdır. Villanın içinde dev bir havuz var. Her gün havuza okyanus suyu taşınıyor. Çünkü içinde köpek balığı besleniyor. Eskik olan şey o suyun ölçülmemesi, her gün akıttığı gözyaşlarıyla kıyaslayabileyim diye. O köpek balığı her gün yüzlerce balık yiyor. Köpekleri her gün onlarca tavuk yiyor, kuzu kanı içiyor. Eskik olan bir şey var. Bu gedişle kendisi de insan yemeye başlayacak. İştahı kesilsin. Amin, amin. Lanet olsun şeytana. Aklıma geldi. İdi amin. İdi amin. Ayakkabıları timsah derisindendir. Kemeri yılan derisindendir. Ceketi layka derisindendir. Ve ceketinin kürkü tilki derisindendir. Şapkası kunduz derisindendir. Korkarım cüzdanı da insan derisinden olabilir. Dua edirəm, öyle olmasın. Amin, amin. Lanet olsun şeytana. Her amin dediğimde aklıma geldi. İdi amin, idi amin. Adamın dişleri fil dişindendir ama kendisi otobur değildir. Kendisi etoburdur. Eskik olan şey dişlerinin aslan kemiğinden olmasıydı. İçtiği şarapların yaşı 80-90 yıl. Ülkenin bütün uzun ömürlü insanlarından daha yaşlı. Eskik olan şey adamın gençlikten nefret etmesi. Bu şarap koleksiyonunda da kendini gösteriyor. Dua ediyorum adam gençlikten nefret etmesin. Amin, amin. Lanet olsun şeytana. Her amin dediğimde aklıma geldi. İdi amin, idi amin. Tuvaletindeki klozet altındandır. Əskik olan tarafı şu. Bu klozetin dünyanın halı budur. Benim dostum henüz küçük bir Allah. Bu adam büyük Allah olmasın. Amin, amin. Lanet olsun şeytana. Yine aklıma geldi. İdi amin, idi amin. Bakın bilim ne kadar ilerledi. İnsanlar da fotokopi oluyor. Meğer idi aminin ne kadar küçük fotokopisi varmış. Dua ediyorum insan fotokopisi dursun. Amin, amin. Lanet olsun şeytana. Aklıma geldi. İdi amin, idi amin. Şunu da söyleyelim. Hayat hepimizi döndürüyor. Sadece onlar timsah gibi dönüyor. Biz izgaradaki tavuk gibi dönüyoruz. Dua ediyorum hareketsiz kalmayalım. Amin, amin. Lanet olsun şeytana. Yine aklıma geldi. İdi amin, idi amin. Ve bir not. Sevgili ve değerli okurlar, bu şiiri siz de fotokopi edin, yayın. Dua edirəm dünyada huzur ve güven olsun. Amin, amin. Aklıma geldi. Yine amin. Sağ olun. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bahtiyar. Now, Brajesh ji will read your poems in Hindi translation, and then I'll read this fantastic poem that you have sent to Rati Saxena ji, The Cold of War's Fire. I'll read the English version of that. Thank you.
Siz bizim grupa atın imzala elektron poçtu, e-maili. Ben kendim gönderirim sizlere. İngilizce.
Okay, Brajesh ji.
Bende İngilizce şiir çok. Gönderirim sizlere. Türkçe de
Okay.
çok, İngilizce.
Yes. Brajesh ji, yeah.
एडवाइस, मशवरा। हिंदी में शीर्षक है मशवरा। एक पिल्ला 3 से 5 महीनों में श्वान प्रशिक्षक की बदौलत सही तौर तरीके सीख लेता है, पर मैं ऐसे व्यक्ति को जानता हूँ जो दो साल किंडरगार्टन, 11 साल स्कूल, 4 साल विश्वविद्यालय, 2 साल परास्नातक, 2 साल डॉक्टरेट की पढ़ाई, 20 साल एक ही पद पर, फिर भी वह इंसान बनना नहीं सीख पाता है। अड़ियल पने में बकरी की तरह, सोच में भेड़ के जैसा, चालाकी में लोमड़ी की तरह, कायरता में खरगोश सा, शिकार करने में लकड़बग्घे जैसा। तो श्वान प्रशिक्षक ज्यादा बेहतर होते हैं, उन्हें शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में लाना चाहिए। Last one translation is from English title is A Letter from Hell. जहन्नुम से एक खत। न जाने कैसे एक दिन जहन्नुम से संयुक्त राष्ट्र को एक खत आया। दुनिया के प्रिय साथियों को हमारी आपसे गुजारिश है, वहां भी अब तक तकनीक विकसित हो चुकी होगी, पाप एक आधुनिक यंत्र से मापे जाते होंगे। अब पाप मापने वाला ऐसा यंत्र आ गया है जिसकी सुई घड़ी की सुइयों की तरह जितनी बार घूमती है, इंसान का पाप उतना ही बढ़ता जाता है। कभी कभी यहाँ नेताओं को भेजिए, चापलूस कवियों को भेजिए और फर्जी देशभक्तों को भेजिए, तब उन यंत्रों की सुइयां तेजी से पंखे की तरह घूमेंगी और इस दहकते दोजख की आग थोड़ी ठंडक पड़ जाएगी, और इस दहकते दोजख की आग में थोड़ी ठंडक पड़ जाएगी। धन्यवाद नगर जी, धन्यवाद। और बख्तियार हिदायत जी, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you.
हिंदी में किया है मैंने, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Brajesh ji, for presenting translations of Bakhtiyar's poems in Hindi. Now I'll present one of his poems in English translation, which he has made available to us. It's a wonderful poem on the issue of war, the cold of war's fires. While putting up wire mesh around his land out of poverty, he drove stakes into the ground instead of fence posts and used a few acacia trees as posts. Then he went to war, returned with sharpnel in his body. Meanwhile, the wires had wrapped the acacias tightly. Later, they tore through the bark and entered inside them. Now, the acacias were eating the wire, squeezing it. The acacias resembled their owner as if they too had sharpnel in their bodies and were feeding on that sharpnel, meeting their iron needs this way without burning their roots. He too was feeding on sharpnel as a war veteran on 80 AZN a month, which I believe is the currency being mentioned here. One day, because of debt, his gas was cut off. He chopped the acacias into firewood. He burned the acacia wood. The sharpnel in the acacias was melting from the heat, but the sharpnel in his body was making him feel even colder. Thank you. Your poems refuse to separate the ones that I read in English, apart from this one, even the other ones, separate private sorrow from public history. They remind us that memory is not simply what survives us, it's also what asks us to become more fully human, I guess. Thank you so much. Now, as we come to the conclusion of this evening's readings, we have traveled across continents from Mexico to Azerbaijan to Kolkata to New Delhi, and it's a lovely poetry presentation. Before concluding, we have some time for responses. I'll take Ratiji's responses maybe to begin with, and then anybody who would like to give their responses are most welcome. Ratiji, would you like to start?
I really enjoyed, even in starting, we were actually, the technology was troubling a lot. It was very difficult to enter for some time. It is very difficult to switch on the mic and many problems. But I read this poem, Dulce, about the technology. And it is very interesting that she has connected mythology and technology, woven these two things. Because in Mexican indigenous culture or African indigenous culture, what we say that it is a spider is a starting, or it is a central god. Like in the Vedic age, there was a Devata, the deity of the universe. Actually, it is the mother of universe, and she is creating her web for her children and creating the whole universe. That is the mythology, and this mythology she has connected with the technology. But I really worried that, do you think that a spider could manage even with this many problems? And for us, it is becoming difficult with the technology, though technology should be very good, but it is not very helpful many times. So what do you feel that? How do you think that? How to justify that? Yes, I understand that why you have written, but how do you justify it? Dulce.
Well, for me, time. I am a believer of the present, everything happening in the present moment, even the future or even the past. So I actually am really happy of being able to live in these technified times, because this allows us to be omnipresent and allows us, with its problems of course, to communicate from long distances and long times. Even maybe we can find each other in the middle through our ancient beliefs, which is, for me, for example, the spider icon and the spider as artwork. So if I felt like that, like the spider is not an ancient symbol that has disappeared, but it has become bigger and bigger. And now it's becoming bigger through artificial intelligence as well. And it's more problematic because it includes all our faults and it's something that for me, it keeps logical. We change, the goddess and gods change its material presence, but they are there. So that is what I wanted to face in this poem. I am really happy that you felt connected to it, and at one point, technology and ancient technologies and modern technologies I just ask myself, well, where will them lead us to in terms of poetry and in terms of art? I want to include them because they are part of the reality. And I always thought that poets and artists in general should create and should produce their art from what comes behind, and this is an Ezra Pound principle. The art to be full of meaning has to include what comes before you. Talking about centuries and talking about other voices and other beliefs and how you project them into yourself and where are you looking forward to. So it's basically, for me, it's philosophic. It's a philosophic problem, but also a materialistic problem that I like to see and reflection on it, and only speak about it through poetry.
Yeah, because of this only we are meeting right now. Because of technology only we are meeting, even though there are many problems. But your other poems also, I find that they have deeper meaning than words. Or you connect with the universe mostly.
Exactly.
Like your poem, The Nude, that is also a universal connection. It's not a word only. But when you use technology, it will give a very lifeless meaning. So this is Mexican is all language is almost Mexican culture is almost like Indian. We still cannot leave the ancient.
We have lots of we have lots of touching points in Mexico and India, and maybe it's because, well, tradition tells us that Indians got here before Spanish people, but there was no record on it, and it was not an invasion, but a mixture. So that is why, sometimes when I went to India, people start speaking to me in Indian, and I was like, I'm not Indian, I don't understand. But and it happens the other way. If you come to Mexico, like our facial structures, and for example, I found that this flower you use, the orange one for religion, here it's also an important flower for us. It has a Nahuatl name, which is Cempasúchitl, and we just use it for our death ceremonies. But you also, so I think that there is something ancient uniting us. So yeah, but now we can be more aware of it thanks to technology. Before we weren't. So I think we must use it as an advantage, because otherwise it will work against us. It will, surpass us.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Sonnet,
you, Ravi.
thank you. Sonnet, one thing I feel that when you present your poetry, it's very clear. Very clearly you speak each and every word, which is a very big quality. Because when you read poetry, it enters in ears and you understand very well. Even in English, here you write in English and Bengali also. So that was a very clear images and very beautifully you present. And you have written about the contemporary problems. I think something about the contemporary Indian religious things you brought in your poetry. What is your main theme in the poetry mostly, or you change according to situations?
Well, about thank you, Rati. About reading my poetry clearly, first of all, it is like poetry. Many people think of poetry as a code that needs to be decoded. And if it cannot be decoded, there is something wrong with the poet or something wrong with the poem. But actually, it is what it is on the paper. And it is also not necessarily what it is on the paper, but poetry is also a performance. When you read it aloud, and in Bengal, we put much emphasis on poetry recitation also, along with poetry writing. There are elocutionists, apart who are not poets, but who are just reciting poets. And coming to my theme of poetry, well, I used to write primarily on nostalgia, like a few years ago, about the people who have left from my life and about my past house, particularly my maternal house and my father's house also, where I cannot go back anymore because the people there they are no longer there. So later, after 2020, the tone shifted more towards social problems because everywhere, even on the television, even on the roads, wherever we go, we hear about wars, not only wars, but also stuff that in our country, if we come, people using religion as a tool, not for the purpose of spreading harmony, but for disharmony. So I have tried to utilize my poems to point out this fact, and this is not only true for India, but it is true for many other countries where it is used as a tool to create disharmony. So the need of the hour, I think, is not only religious brotherhood, but more particularly cultural understanding and cultural sharing. And that is only possible by traveling. And by traveling, it doesn't mean traveling across borders always, but one can travel to the nearest bookshop, to the nearest tea stall, or even cross the borders of one's, like the boundary of one's home. So that way, people start conversing with each other. And this harmony, this mutual understanding, this conversation can lead us to a better place. So I try to project problems that are rampant around all over the world, in our country also. At the same time, try to point out very subtly at the reasons behind them.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Jyoti Prakash is, I think, for her, it is the first chance, and you are in an international stage. Kritya, we always do that. we try to find the young poets who are not in the mainstream of writing, or they are not. They are writing for the writing poetry. Last program we brought Ashish, who is a surgeon, and he had a wonderful poetry, I think, first time, and then immediately his poetry was published in the Hindavi. That is the biggest stage of poetry in Hindi. Jyoti Prakash poem also was published in Kritya. I think first time you sent to some journal, and because it is online, and she has such a great maturity. She didn't, as if she didn't need to work, because we all grow. For me, I grow very slowly in the poetry. I did not grow. I did not start writing in such a maturity. Your poetry has such a maturity and experience, and then your social work comes in between. Like this 57 Gota, na? Kitne? Yeah, 60.
Bhuta, 52 Bhuta.
So that poem I remember, because I understand that. But how you bring the same thing, the ancient and modern culture and the memories and connecting. So I read many poems of her. She could read only few, but she has written very wonderful poem. And now you will be published in many journals. So thank you very much. So why did you start writing? Because you are not in a literary field. And how did you start, and how did you develop your?
I was not very gifted with words earlier. So it was in 11th standard when I read something different from anything academically, given to me. So that was first book, and it was luckily Sarat Chand ka ek jo book thi, and it was a translated book in Hindi. So that was my first read. So when I started reading it, when I started exploring poems, and CBC has such great collection of poems, and the English poems as well as the Hindi poems. So there I felt ki this type of conversation though I always have with myself. Then why can't I bring those words into the the world, or on the paper? So that was the beginning, and it was in 11th standard I wrote my first poem. And although I didn't like it, I am very ashamed to read it, because I felt it's too childish. But my teachers were very encouraging, and that was the first time I recited in my school assembly maybe. And from there onwards, I didn't look back. There onwards, I started reading. I started exploring something which was not academically, inclined. And I was reading more authors, and even English authors as well as the Hindi authors. So when I acquainted myself with words, that is where the urge to write whatever I think, whatever the conversation I was having with myself. And as a person, I don't try to find always resolution, and don't try to find answers. I take comfort in question. So I thought, why not just bring it to the, in a form of a poetry. So that is why, and that is how I started writing.
Thank you very much. I do not know whether Bahtiyar can reply or not. I'm not sure, because he will understand, because the language is a problem. Though his poem, especially few short poems, I love very much, and the long poem which Kamlakar ji has read, that was also very nice. So over to you, Kamlakar ji.
Yes, yes, Radhiji. Yeah, you're right about Bakhtiyar's poem being very, very moving. From Azerbaijan to Mexico, from Kolkata to New Delhi, the languages, landscapes, histories were different, yet the poems repeatedly returned to us, and also the conversations took us to questions that belong to all of us, to love, loss, justice, memory, identity, hope, even through technology, and the difficult work of, through all this, remaining human. That is perhaps poetry's greatest gift. It does not erase our differences. It teaches us to hear one another through these differences. So, on behalf of Kritya Poetry East and West, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Rati Saxena ji for tireless efforts in nurturing this international community of poets. My sincere thanks to our wonderful poets, Bahtiyar Hidayet, Dulce Chiang, Sonnet Mondal, Jyoti Prakash for sharing with us their poems this evening and also your words with us. Thank you, everyone who joined us online from different parts of the world. Your presence completes this gathering. May we continue to read across languages, listen to cultures, and recognize one another through poetry, as Sonnet earlier was mentioning. Kritya's next session will be a book talk on an anthology of Polish poets translated to Hindi by Rati Saxena. We will get to listen to the Polish poets and their poetry. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. And until we meet again, keep reading, keep writing, and keep poetry alive. Thank you so very much.
That book was not only for Polish poets. That book is the Polish diaspora who survived from the cruelty of the Second World War. And they had to live in America and UK. And they are remembering their pain and suffering, their parents' pain and suffering and cruelty of the war. So that is not only the Polish poetry, that is actually the Polish diaspora's poetry, which brings the pain of world wars. So because this is the time when we are talking about a war, so that will be important, and the Polish diaspora poets will join us. Thank you very much.